something little. We're here for a little coffee. Actually, I'm having a little brain fuel. Can you see it? It is a pink color. Been having the coffee early in the morning, brain fuel right after, and things have been clicking, which is good. Marine says, you really enjoy modern poker theory. Great, glad to hear it. I did a lot of work on that book, and I'm glad that you all are enjoying it. I think it is the best-selling poker book right now, which is good. It's good when the projects you work on are well appreciated. That was a fun one because I was more of like an editor / questioner to some extent, where I got the initial manuscript and then I sent back a lot of questions to like really clarify things. Michael is from Costa Rica, I believe, and so his English is not perfect, and I had to clean up that. It's a lot of work. I probably spent, I don't even know, 200 hours or something on that thing for $0. 200 hours for $0 is not a great return on investment for me, but the poker community is loving it. What more can I ask? Any plans to play the World Series of Poker in February? I got to tell you all, World Series of Poker has done a horrendous job marketing whatever stuff they're doing. I know good high-stakes recreational poker players who live in New Jersey who did not know the recent main event was happening. And if you have the recreational poker players not even knowing that your event is happening, that's a problem. I didn't even know they had anything in February. I'm definitely not going to go play a random $200 tournament, though. It's just like not worth it. You got to get up and go there. It's a bit of a hassle. Good morning, everyone. 2 p.m. here, 6 a.m. here, afternoon here. Yeah, we have a worldwide audience. Want to thank you all for joining in today, Sharks. All right. Editor should be paid. To be fair, I own a little bit of the company. So out the door, I don't know how much I'll make from the thing, but not a lot. I don't know. I don't know how much I'll get paid. Not whatever the value of 200 of my hours is worth, I'll tell you that. Sometimes, I'll tell you all a little something. Whenever you... I don't even know how to phrase this. At some point, you have the ability to do things because you want to do it, right? And D&B Poker wanted to make the highest level game theory optimal poker theory book, right? Because there really been no good poker theory books written in a very, 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 very long time. And, we wanted to do that. And it was a bit of work. I knew that when I worked with someone who does not speak English natively that it would take a lot of work on me. Like, I recognized that. It was my job to source the coach, right? The author. I knew Michael would do a great job with it, and he did. And I knew it was going to be a lot of work on me, and I signed up. I knew, to some extent, what I was signing up for. I thought it'd probably be more like 100 hours, not 200 hours, or whatever it ended up being. Maybe it was more. I don't even know. I didn't keep track. But I knew what I was signing up for, right? And at some point, you don't really do things for the money. You know what I mean? You do things to help the community. And, I mean, like this show, I get paid a whopping $0. I would know. I'd imagine that all of you think by the amazingly high quality of the show that YouTube pays me to be here. But you'd be wrong about that. I get paid by all of you for doing good work on the back end, by you signing up at pokercoaching.com. Right now at pokercoaching.com, we have a 30-day cash game challenge. I think it starts today, literally today, where every single day for the next month, we're going to be sending you high-level poker content. So make sure you check that out, pokercoaching.com/cash game challenge. Also, if you get in that, you have access to Poker Coaching Premium. We have loads of great content. Last night, Faraz Jaka streamed his full Sunday session. He won a $1,000 tournament for $27,000. Good job. Good work. Let's see. What is the name of that book? That book is called Modern Poker Theory. You really enjoy excelling at tough no-limit hold'em games. I'm glad to hear it. When will excelling at tough no-limit hold'em games have an audiobook? It's already available. If you go to Amazon, check that out. Why is there no PLO content on my site? I have a few reasons. I'm going to go through it real quick. Main reason number one is I am not a professional PLO player. I only teach things that I am very good at. Why don't you hire a professional PLO player? It's easier said than done. Also, I just send everyone to Jay Nandez at this point. Jay Nandez has great content. I'm not really trying to compete with him or, do anything like that. I think between him and Run It Once, they have lots of good PLO content. So do I really want to try to hire someone to replicate it? It's like, not really. Again, I'm not necessarily doing this to try to make as much money as possible, right? If I was, I would just try to like knock off everybody, but that's not what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to do what we are good at. And could hire a PLO person, but third problem, and whoever asked this question, sorry to already scroll by, is not going to like this, but PLO is not that big of a game. There are pockets of the country, of America, and worldwide where PLO is played a lot, but the people who play PLO very often, first things first, are playing it to get their gamble on. The recreational players of PLO do not care at all about improving their skills. They just want to gamble, so that's a bit of a problem, right? It's also not clear to them that they're even losing a lot because there's a ton of variance. They can blame a lot of stuff on luck. And there's not that many good players, is what it amounts to the point that there's not a big market for it, right? Whenever you are running a business, if you're going, like whenever I do Modern Poker Theory, right? I know the publishing company is going to make plenty of money off that. We're not going to like torch our money. If I paid someone good money to make a PLO course, there's a chance we're just straight up torching our money and torching our marketing efforts. And I don't have infinite money and marketing efforts, right? So many, many problems there, right? Just a lot of problems is what it amounts to. There's already people doing it better than I would probably be able to do it. The game's not all that big to begin with. Recreational players don't really care to get better, at least in my experience, as far as I can tell. So it's like, what are we doing? What is the topic of today? Topic of today is knowledge from the bookshelf. I have a bookshelf behind me. If you didn't know this, this is actually not a green screen. These are actually real trophies. This is a real shark. This is not a green screen. Look, we have more trophies way up there. Can you see them? I know the light's kind of glaringly bright today. Loads and loads of stuff on the bookshelf, okay? Today, we're going to turn around, grab some books, and give some knowledge. Do you think short deck will become popular like PLO or more popular than PLO? No, I don't. For those who don't know, I actually spent like 6 months of my life only playing medium and high stakes PLO online. Anytime I think a game may take over, and I did think PLO may have taken over like 10 years ago, I spend a lot of time studying and learning that game. And there's not been a game since PLO that I thought would take over. Besides mixed games, I did play mixed games a lot. There was a period where like they were really ramping up, especially live in Vegas. But just like No Limit Hold'em is going to be the main game for a very, very long time. I hate to break it to you. Which book would I recommend if you're a beginner? What's it called? Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em. There you go. You want an online term for $1,500 and then want over 1,000 at cash games. Good job, good work. All right, let's get a book. Here we go. 4 Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. Do not be turned off by this book. It is a big book. Big, 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 big book. Let's find the table of contents here. This book actually helped me get in reasonable shape. Why is the light so glaringly bad today? This book helped me get in reasonable shape. He calls it the Slow Carb Diet. How to lose 20 pounds in 30 days. Sounds overly aggressive. I'm going to go ahead and sum it up for you. Generally speaking, don't eat a lot of carbs or no carbs. Eat no carbs. Carbs include sugar. They include grains. They include stuff like potatoes. So essentially, what you eat is a lot of lean meat and vegetables. Lean meat and vegetables. Ideally leafy green vegetables. Eat that for 30 days. And you'll lose a bunch of weight. And simple as that. You may say, what about fruit? Fruit has loads of sugar. They recommend not being on that. I actually did this. I was on this quote-unquote diet, if you want to call it a diet. It's more like a lifestyle to some extent. But I was on this diet for, I don't know, a year or two. And I was the lightest I'd ever been. And I felt fine and felt great. But then inevitably you get a little bit lazy. And you slack a little bit. But like right now, I'm still a reasonable weight for me. Despite, COVID making it easy to fall into all of your vices and whatnot. Slow carb diet's good. You want to get in good shape. If you're drinking a lot of soda, got to get off of that. I used to be really overweight. I used to weigh like 180 pounds. Now I weigh 150. At my lightest, I was like 140. But I just stopped drinking sodas and it like immediately fell off, right? Again, people are saying this is okay, that is okay. We're not trying to debate what is actually good in terms of health. I'm telling you what has worked for me to immediately lose lots of weight. And that was, for me personally, for Jonathan Little personally, that was stop eating fruit, stop eating pasta, stop drinking sodas. That's all I did. Weight fell right off. Does PC sell merchandise? Soon. Soon. We will have merchandise available for all of you to buy very soon. If you're a poker coaching member, maybe you'll get some thrown at you for free. Who knows? What else? General working out strategy came from this book as well for me. I used to do kind of like long exercise, but not so intense. This book talks a lot about high intensity interval training in terms of getting in good shape. I know that that's kind of like a well-known thing now where you work out really hard for a short period of time and then you rest. Then you work out really hard for a short period of time and then you rest. I'm trying to find when this book was published. This book was published in 2010, so 11 years ago. So I'm sure that was a thing among people who work out back then, but it was not a thing for me. I didn't know anything about it, and this book helped a lot. 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. Good work. Since we're right next to it, we'll go to the 4-Hour Chef by Tim Ferriss. Another giant book. This book has a lot of pictures in it. Can you see the pictures? Beautiful book. Lots and lots of photos. This book costs $35. I bet they took a bath making these physical copies. I don't know how much this thing cost to print, but it had to be like $20, maybe $30. That's a lot for a physical book to sell for $25. But again, Tim Ferriss don't care about making money. He kind of operates like Jonathan Little. Well, he'll torch his money for one thing in exchange for making a lot of money on something else. 4-Hour Chef was a great book. So if you decide to take up the idea of the slow carb diet of basically lean meats, vegetables, etc., this book will teach you all sorts of things to cook. And this book is not really about cooking. I know it's called the 4-Hour Chef and everything. But this book teaches you how to learn new skills. And learning new skills is very valuable. It talks about how, learn the basics. Don't try to go overboard mastering everything. Learn what you need to learn to succeed. And I will say there's one big problem with this thought process of learn what you need to succeed. And that is that you're never really going to become an expert at that thing, but you are going to probably become reasonably good and pretty competent at that thing. And you have to ask, do I care about being an expert? Kind of like me with physical fitness, right? Do I care to be a bodybuilder? Like, no, I don't care. Do I care to be super ripped? Or do I care to be a fast runner or anything like that? It's like, not really, right? I really don't care all that much. I realize my job as a profession is not going to be get in shape and do something based on it, right? I want to be in pretty good shape. I want to be in reasonable shape. I want to be able to live for a long time. But I don't want to devote my whole life to it, right? And with a lot of things in your life, you have to decide, do I want to go very deep on it? Or am I fine being just okay at it? And there's nothing wrong with being just okay at something. You have to be careful with the things that you do become just okay at, because if you get just okay at a game where people are really, really going deep on it, that's going to be a problem, right? Like poker. You have to be very careful getting just okay at poker if you want to play medium and high stakes, because everybody who plays medium and high stakes has devoted their life to it. They're going very deep, right? So you have to figure out that. So with poker, you do probably have to get substantially better than just okay. But if you want to play with your friends on the weekends for $20 home game, you can be quite bad and still have a good win rate. There's one dish I randomly turned to here. It's a steak dish. It's called Sexy Time Steak. Because, what do you want more after a gigantic steak than Sexy Time? This steak is amazing. I would have paid $35, the cost of this book, purely to have access to how to make this steak. Oh, it's good. It's easy to make, and it's delicious. There's also some kind of ceviche in here. I forget exactly where it is or what it is. Anyway, it's good. The day I proposed to my wife, I made her sous vide chicken in a plastic bag. This is what I made the day I proposed to my wife with sweet potatoes. And I think we had broccoli. I know it doesn't sound fancy, but it was delicious. I need to get back into this. I haven't cooked in a long time. I should probably be cooking more often. Anyway, it's a good book. Oh, what else do we have? Here we go. Why did I not go down to Hard Rock to play the WPT? I run well there. I do run well. I have a trophy right back up there from it. Actually, I have 2 trophies. There's another one right there. Why did I not go to play? COVID happens right now. I have people in my life who are older, who are susceptible to getting sick. Well, they're in the, trouble age or whatever. They're older people who come over. My wife's parents come over all the time. In no world am I going to give myself any actual risk of getting COVID and bringing it back home, especially when in the foreseeable future there's a vaccine. It just does not make logical sense. You still cook sous vide chicken in a plastic bag. Unfortunately, I have not cooked in a while. The nice thing about that book, though, is everything's actually pretty easy. I, Jonathan Little, who has never really cooked before in my life, could cook everything in that book. It goes through and tells you the basic tools to get. You maybe have to get, $100 worth of simple tools. You need a good knife. You need a good pot. You need a good pan. When I say good, not expensive. You need good stuff. Tim Ferriss goes through and recommends, basically the cheap version. The cheap version is the wrong word. The high quality, low cost version, right? That will give you the most bang for your buck. That's really the most bang for your buck, right? All right, next book. Going on for something different. The High Growth Handbook. This book cover looks very simple, but this book is kind of like the Bible for growing a company quickly. Not a picture book. This book is by Elad Gil. If you have a company that you want to ramp up, like pokercoaching.com. Maybe you should look into this. Now look, I realize poker coaching is never going to be a gigantic company, right? Just because poker is not a gigantic space. But I still want to learn from people who have grown companies, and I can extrapolate to my business. And this book is a series of interviews and blogs by Elad Gil, who's had multiple great companies. If any of you know these people, we have Sam Altman, Mark Andreessen, Reid Hoffman, among many others. Naval Ravikant. Some people love to hate on that guy. But I like this book a lot. I read this actually when I went away with my family to upstate New York recently, and I could not put it down. So if you have a business that you want to scale, particularly a business on the internet, which are naturally scalable, way more easily scalable than a physical business, check it out, High Growth Handbook. Also, this cover. This cover looks relatively basic, but this is a solid book. I know mine got dirty. This is a solid, chunky book. I have a new book coming out. Do you all know this? It'll be out probably June or July this year. Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker, my very first book. I went back, completely rewrote it, revamped it, remade it, updated everything to be accurate for today, and I kind of copied this hardcover, but with the text engraved in the cover. Kind of knocked off this cover to some extent. Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker. It'll be coming out in about 6 months. It's going to be a big book, 500-ish pages. How many pages is this? This book is 350 pages, so even bigger than this. Nice, solid, chunky hardcover book. I'm excited about it. Let's see. Someone in chat pointed out this one. This Naked Mind. This book helped me get off of alcohol to some extent. I was drinking a little bit too much for a while. This is a tough thing to talk to people about because what is too much alcohol? Some people say any. Some people say a gallon a day, right? You got to figure that out for yourself, right? I was certainly never any rock bottom point or anything, but probably drinking a little bit too much. You drink a little bit too much, you wake up, you're hungover, and you lose an hour or two in the morning. Or if you go off the deep end once every 2 weeks, let's say once every 2 weeks, you go out and you have a super party, and you're useless for the next day. And there are more costs to drinking than the actual cost of the drink, right? Including your health, right? And if you want to be in generally good shape and you want to not squander your time, then you should probably chill out on the alcohol, right? Just because something is legal and quote-unquote socially okay does not mean it is actually okay. How long have I been sober for? I've not been sober very long. About 6 days. I still have a little bit of drinks every once in a while. It's certainly not ideal. I've kind of decided, speaking of another book, we'll go right over here to it. Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book talks about if you want to form good habits, structure your environment such that it is easy to stick to your habits, right? So, this Naked Mind, this is not written, I don't think this is written by a doctor. This is, you got to be careful with stuff like this. It's not written by a doctor that, basically just tries to inject logic and says, hey, dumbass, what are you doing? Here are all the reasons why you should clearly not be doing this thing. And if you're a smart, logical person, this kind of thing will speak to you very, very clearly. If you're not a logical person, then maybe it's not going to be so helpful. Atomic Habits. Easy way during COVID. Easy way to not drink alcohol is to not have alcohol at your house. Okay, so structure your life to where there's no alcohol at your house. You have a rule, you're never going to break it, because if you do, your identity goes out the window, and it means you're a weak human. Just saying, you can associate these things in your mind. You ban alcohol from your house. You can do whatever you want when you go outside. You ban alcohol from your house. Okay, fine. If I had banned alcohol from my house at the time of COVID, I would have had literally 6 drinks over the last year. Instead I had, I don't know the actual number, but more than 6. Because it wasn't banned from the house, right? And I basically banned it from the house. So we're going to have no more drinks. Nice and easy. Structure your life so that it's easy to stick to your habits and the things you want to develop. Get in there. What is bothering me? It's the new year. Let's talk about habits real quick. Most people out there probably have something in their life that they realize they're doing that they don't particularly like, or they have something they want to start doing. Okay? What do you want to do in your life? I mean, I mentioned this last time. I think I talked about this book a little bit in one of the little coffees or something. And I mentioned how if it was up to me, I would have a pull-up bar on the door frame, right? And have it in your mind, if you want to do more pull-ups, get in better shape, every time you walk through a particular door, you must do X number of pull-ups, whatever X is. Maybe this month you're weak and you're going to do 1, right? Maybe next week next month you do 2. Who knows, right? Maybe it's sit-ups. Maybe you somehow have a yoga mat on the floor, and every time you walk through a particular door, you get down and you do your 5 or 10 or 20 sit-ups. You just do it. That's a rule you set for yourself. You make it easy for yourself. You make it obvious for yourself because you have a bright pink yoga mat sitting on the floor. You know what I mean? Make it really, really obvious and easy for yourself. And that's how you go about developing new habits. You make it to where it's just crystal clear what you need to do. As opposed to, I want to get in shape, so, I'm going to try to do some sit-ups, etc. And you just kind of think about it one time and then you forget about it. Set up ways to make it crystal clear what you need to do. That way you actually do it. And then things that you want to get rid of in your life, like let's say drinking alcohol, remove it from being in front of you, right? If you have no alcohol at your house and you ban from drinking it at your house, then you're just kind of good to go to some extent if you think about it. You can do the same thing with pasta. Say you want to get in shape. You want to stick to the slow carb diet we talked about earlier. Ban soda, ice cream, fruit, pasta, and potatoes from your house. And you'll probably be good to go, right? And you have to have the discipline to stick to it, but that will be very beneficial. What do you think about Modern Poker Theory? Modern Poker Theory is a great book. We talked about it at the top of the show. So I recommend getting it. Yes. Let's see. How do I read books? Do I read one straight through or do I jump through a bunch of them? I mix it up. It depends on how good the book is, really. I have started viewing books kind of more like I view blogs on the internet. You start reading it. It's boring. You don't like it. Skim through it a little bit, see if you see anything you like. If you don't like it, muck it. Don't feel bad about it. You all may not know this, but I have about 20 books sitting on the floor right down here to read. I have 5 sitting over here. And, we're going through it. And I basically what it amounts to is currently I have been kind of hopping from book to book. But if I do find a book that I love, I'll just go right through it. Like High Growth Handbook recently, right? Like we mentioned earlier. I went through that book in 2 weeks. It's a dense book. It's not an easy book. But I basically didn't read any other book in that time period. But, I jumped around. Also, some books are kind of easier to jump around than others. Things like textbooks, like my book, Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker, is probably not a great one to jump around from book to book because it's a big, thick textbook to some extent, right? If you want to get good at this topic, you don't want to be randomly reading all sorts of other stuff. All right, next book, Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. This book is a collection of stories. This is actually one that you can jump around very easily. Rory basically, I don't know exactly what he does. He is the vice chairman of a marketing company, but a very, very high-level marketing company. They've done all sorts of major ads for all sorts of major companies. And essentially, this book talks about creating magic in spots where everybody is just straight up looking at numbers and logic. And trying new things that no one else has ever done to get results that are uncommon. I don't know if this was his design or not, but it was pretty cool. He posted on Twitter the other day. It was basically an ad for a new vampire show, okay? Maybe I can find it and pull it up real quick. It'll do better justice. Let's see. Basically, it's a bunch of stakes in the billboard, but whenever the sun moves, it turns into Dracula. It was really cool. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it for you. It was 2 weeks ago. He's probably posted more than once in 2 weeks, huh? It was a really cool ad, though. Not going to be able to find it. Anyway, it was neat. Anyway, he has a lot of cool ideas, lots of marketing tips. But it's not really marketing stuff. It's more just cool stories relating to how you can, to some extent, make, that's going to sound bad, but make people do the logical, obvious thing to some extent. There's the classic problem where they had the, what are they called? Rockfish, starfish, something like that. They were called something, some kind of fish that basically was eating up all the other fish. It somehow got introduced into the ocean. Rockfish, is that what it's called? Lionfish? Lionfish, was it lionfish? I think it was a lionfish. Anyway, he talked about how the countries got together with the Catholic religion and all this stuff and basically had all of them tell people that they need to be eating these rockfish because it's a delicacy and because it's the thing to do. Whereas in reality, they just didn't want all the other fish to die, right? And it turns out, by having people in authority telling you that you should be eating this rockfish, or lionfish or whatever it was, people started eating it, they fixed the problem. All right, here's this Dracula image. I know it doesn't look particularly great here. You guys hear my kids screaming their heads off? Anyway, here's this, I know you can't see it on Instagram, sorry. So look, during the day, the Dracula ad looks like nothing. And as the sun goes down, it starts making Dracula on the billboard. Pretty cool, right? It's pretty neat. But that's a cool idea. It's a uncommon idea. And people are going to drive by this in the morning. They're going to drive by in the afternoon. They're going to see this nonsense poster or this nonsense billboard one day, and then they're going to see this amazingly scary Dracula poster at night or billboard at night. It's cool, right? Was that worth me dealing through all of this, trying to find it? Anyway. Cool stuff. I like this book. I don't know if I necessarily learned anything. This is one of these books where, like, kind of like Malcolm Gladwell books to some extent, where it's a bunch of stories. They have general themes. I don't know if you actually learn a ton from it out the door, but it's certainly like a fun, enjoyable, entertaining read. Take that for what it's worth. Here's a good one. The Daily Stoic. The Daily Stoic. Basically, every day. Don't know why my kids are going off today. Thomas, please be quiet. Please be quiet. He often listens to me when I tell him to be quiet. Would you believe that? Essentially, every day, it gives you just a little bit to read. Not a lot, just a little bit. Right? Just a little bit. I go through, I highlight a little bit, main thing of the day, so that whenever, you feel like it, you can just go through and you can read something you highlighted. Let's read this. The learner is not taught, but burdened by the sheer volume. And it's better to plant the seeds of a few authors than to be scattered by many. Haha, look at that. So it's true, actually, right? You don't want to have all sorts of people giving you all sorts of information. It's usually best to learn from a few. And now, I realize that I have multiple areas of interest, right? You can't get like one person you follow for everything. But it's true. You probably don't want to jump from, well, let's say poker content creator to poker content creator. You probably need to stick to a few. I know I do that, right? I primarily learn from 4 or 5 other world-class poker players, and it's worked out great, right? Let's see. Well-being is realized by small steps, but it is truly no small thing. Indeed. Work nourishes noble minds. The first thing to do is to not get worked up. These are all written by Stoic philosophers back in the, I don't know when they were around, 2,000-ish years ago. Don't get worked up. So many people make a point to get worked up. They want to be worked up. They want to be excited. They want to be angry. They want to be mad. They want to be fighting. But realize, it takes 2 to tango, right? You don't have to battle in most instances, right? What else do we have? Modern Poker Theory. Here you go. You all were mentioning Modern Poker Theory earlier. Modern Poker Theory. We'll call it a picture book. Look at all these pictures, right? Lots of pictures, a few equations. Make sure you check it out. We did lots and lots of work on this one, Modern Poker Theory. What did I learn from this? What did I actually learn from this? So, look, this is going to sound a little bit bad, but I know a lot about poker. I don't know if I actually learned a whole lot from this book because I already knew most of the stuff in this book. It's good to see really robust math put behind a lot of scenarios. Like, for example, discussing how much you could potentially win by trying to exploit someone, and then showing how much they can crush you if they properly counter-exploit you, right? For example, let's say 10 big blinds deep, you think your opponent folds too much from the big blind, you adjust by going all in wider, as you should, right? They're going to fold way too often, you're going to print money. What if you adjust poorly, though, right? What if you think they fold too often, but they realize that, and then they adjust, and then they start calling too often? Well, now, you're just going to torch your money, right? So the question is, how much do you torch your money? And it turns out, even shallow stack, you'll be torching your money like 4 times as fast as you could have potentially beat them for. Which is why GTO strategies are quite strong, because you just can't really screw up. Whereas if your opponents are paying attention and they're adjusting properly, you're just going to get in trouble. This has a forward by John Van Fleet. Correct. That is correct. If you like John Van Fleet, I have another book. This is my most recent book. Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. There's John Van Fleet. Where is he? In the corner there. You see him? We have 2 cameras here I'm trying to work for. There you go. We also have Bert Stevens, draft ganger, world-class player, who is a poker coaching coach. We also have Alex Carr, who manages the Pokar Backing Company, which I'm an advisor for. We have Rob Tinian. I learned a lot about poker from Rob Tinian. He's won the Sunday Million twice, helps poke players be the best they can be. We have Vlada Stojanovic. I learned a lot from this chapter. So, I mentioned earlier, I don't actually learn a lot from poker books. In this process of this book, I knew this was a book for Jonathan Little type poker players. Poker players who are already doing very, very well, who are looking for additional edges in the tough games. And I think the chapter I learned the most from was Vlada's. And interestingly enough, I learned almost nothing in the first draft that he sent me. The first draft he sent me was supposed to be on ICM, Independent Chip Model. And it was mostly pre-flop. I'm like, okay, look, this is good. It's going to sound, it's basic to me, right? Like I know how to play pre-flop very well in ICM scenarios. What I really want to see though is post-flop stuff. So he came back with another version of the chapter, twice as long, maybe 3 times as long even, with lots and lots of post-flop scenarios. And I learned a lot about post-flop ICM, which is kind of like difficult to find, especially post-flop multi-way ICM spots. And like I know Vlada's playing around Munker Solver and stuff, and he goes through all sorts of Munker ranges, and it's very, 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 very good chapter. What would I have paid for that? I've made so much money from that chapter. I don't even know, $1,000, maybe more. Also, Cavallito. You all know Cavallito? Alexandre Mantovani, world-class player as well. I used to be a little bit timid when it comes to playing progressive knockout tournaments because I did not properly know how to convert the bounties to chips because it's kind of convoluted. Turns out, Cavallito has a spreadsheet. All you gotta do is enter a number and it'll tell you. You have to enter a bunch of other numbers before you start the tournament, but you enter a number and it tells you the value of the bounty chips, right? Well, the value of the bounty in terms of chips. And it changes as the tournament progresses, right? And this is just available to everyone who buys the book, or if you're a poker coaching member, it's in the tools section of pokercoaching.com. And there was a big PKO series happening at the beginning of the year, last year, when I was in England for the Party Poker series. And I probably would have skipped that series if I had not recently studied Cavallito's work. But I decided, all right, look, we studied this. I know how to play regular poker. I know how to enter numbers in a spreadsheet. Let's do it. Ended up winning about $60,000 online that trip in like five days. It was insane. I just like won every tournament. I probably ran hot, right? Let's get real. But I wasn't screwing up when it came to the bounties, right? There's a lot of value in just knowing what you are doing is reasonably close to right? And before that, I was just like straight up guessing in PKO tournaments, and I realized I was straight up guessing in PKO tournaments. And if I'm straight up guessing, and other people actually kind of know because they've spent a year working on this thing, then they're going to be better than me, right? So I'm not going to be playing high-stakes tournaments if I think my opponents are better than me because I'm not trying to torch my money. But now we have the spreadsheet, so we're good to go. Anyway, check this out, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. It came out only 5 or 6 months ago. Amazing book. I learned a lot in it. Like this, this is probably the poker book I have learned the most from. It has to be, right? I mean, I guess whenever I was a very beginner player, maybe I learned a lot. But over the last like 10 years, this is by far the book that I learned the most from. And it's good. It's what we're trying to have happen. And you may say, how can Jonathan Little learn a lot from a poker book? Isn't he a good poker player? Yeah, I am. But you have to realize I'm hiring people to write these chapters who are literally the best in the world at the thing they are discussing. And I am not, for example, the best in the world at progressive knockout tournaments. Just not. Sorry. I'm not the best in the world at post-flop ICM. Right? I'm not the best in the world at managing recreational or, people who are trying to become good poker players. I'm good at teaching them to get good at poker, but I'm not the best at managing them. We have like life advice on how to manage your skills and whatnot. I'm not the best at triple barrel bluffing. We have multiple sections in here by Richard Hoadley on good punt or bad punt. Were these good punts or bad punts? And he goes through Pio Solver and make sure that his bluffs were good. Some of them were, some of them weren't, right? So anyway, check all that out. Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. This is a good book. I have this issue now where I almost like want to one-up myself every time I make a new product or a new book, because in reality, like I don't it's funny, I don't think I have a whole lot more to write. Turns out, I always end up finding something else to write about. But I want to make sure I do good work for all of you. And that demands an incredibly high level of value given. And it's harder than you would think to do. I know some people are like adamantly against books because they say things like, oh, the information gets outdated really quickly. And for some books, that's the case. Like a lot of people put out content. Their poker strategy is based on exactly what is happening today. And that kind of stuff gets outdated immediately. But like my work was never really, here's what's happening today, therefore do this, right? I'm not trying to tell you what to do in terms of here's a strategy to use today, good luck. I am more so trying to help you develop fundamentally sound strategies that you can use for forever. Which is why my first book, Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker, from 10 years ago, has stood the test of time to some extent. Better than like any other poker book on the market because it wasn't, here's what's winning today, here's how to win at poker. But, like this book here, all of these things discussed in these chapters are timeless. Like this, and also they're very like cutting edge to some extent. They're like cutting edge and timeless. And that's what I want out of my books. I want to make sure that they are relevant for a good long period of time. And I want to make sure that they're going to add an immense amount of value. Are these for tournaments or cash games? They're for both. How many of those books have you sold? Actually, I don't have great analytics on book sales. It's kind of hard to get great analytics from Amazon. Also, there's all sorts of formats. That said, a lot of these books are available on audiobook as well. If you like audiobooks, make sure you check it out. What do I think about GG Poker Leaderboards? I don't know anything about GG Poker Leaderboards. What do I think about leaderboards in general? Most of them are based on volume. You play a lot, you're gonna be high up on the leaderboard. You don't play a lot, you won't, right? So, what do I think? I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what you're asking me. Let's see. Will this be uploaded to YouTube? All of this stuff that's on YouTube will be uploaded to YouTube. I see some of you watching on Twitch. Hello. Facebook. Hello. Instagram. Hello. Twitter. Hello. If you want to make sure you are notified and everything, make sure you go to youtube.com/pokercoaching and click the notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I go live. One more book for today, then we're going to pack it up. Life's a Gamble by Mike Sexton. I thoroughly enjoy this book. This book is Mike Sexton's autobiography. Nice signed copy for Jonathan Little. About 5 years ago, when was this published? Let's see. This was published in 2016. So maybe 6 or 7 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago, I was hanging out with Mike Sexton. After tournaments, we'd go, have a drink, go chill, go enjoy ourselves and relax. And he just has infinite fun stories. And often they're kind of educational, especially if you extrapolate a little bit. And I was like, Mike, you gotta write a book. You gotta write a book. And this is when I was starting to work more heavily with D&B Poker. And they had never published any poker biography. There are almost no poker biographies, especially no autobiographies. And, to be fair, they don't sell all that well. Simple as that, right? Most poker books about poker players don't sell all that well because, first off, it's only going to sell to poker players. And on top of that, people also have to want to care about the poker player, right? But I'm like, look, this book will at least do okay. We will not lose money on it, I promise you. Mike Sexton will sell at least a few thousand, and we'll be good to go. Whenever we publish a book, we got to sell a few thousand to break even. If you sell less than that, you'll lose money. It's kind of like gambling. It turns out most businesses like gambling. But I'm like, look, we're not going to lose money on it, I promise. I know it's new. I know it's something we've not done before. I know it's something that nobody else really does because it typically does poorly. But look, this will do well. So, we got with Mike Sexton, had him get a bunch of stories together, and this is the book, Life's a Gamble. There's also lots and lots of fun pictures, old school pictures of Mike Sexton from him when he was in the military, when he was a gymnast. Photos of him early in the World Poker Tour, him with a bunch of legends, like here's Chip Reese, here's Bobby Baldwin, there's his brother, there's his son, Anyway, I'm glad we got this done because Mike's no longer with us. He passed away at the end of last year. And glad we got it done. With any luck, we'll be able to continue sharing his stories for forever. So anyway, check that out at, what's the URL? jonathanlittlepoker.com/Sexton. Are you answering questions today? Maybe. Only 71 likes. Well, it turns out everyone doesn't like books, and that's okay. But if you like this video, do me a favor, click the like button below, click the subscribe button. I learned a lot from that book about, well, first off, I was very entertained by this book. This is another book that I just basically read straight through. When he turned in the manuscript to me, I just read it in a day. It was so good. But I mean, he has the term poker ambassador here. And I know some people think that, poker doesn't have ambassadors or need ambassadors. But Mike Sexton is the poker ambassador, right? He made poker accessible to the general public, right? And what's that worth, right? I mean, without Mike, I think poker would not have spread like it did. And I mean, his work with the World Poker Tour was amazing. And you all may not know this, but he made Party Poker what it was to some extent back in the day. Party Poker was the biggest poker site by a mile, and that was a whole lot of his doing and a whole lot of his gamble making that happen, right? He had a meeting in Vegas with someone who worked at Party Poker in a new site. The site was not doing well. It was not functioning properly, etc. And they said, will you get on a plane and fly to India and work with us for a few months? And he's like, sure. I mean, I'm trying to think if there was any period in my life where someone came up to me and said, hey, Jonathan, will you fly to India for a few months to work with our team who doesn't know a lot about poker to help make this poker site? It'd be a heck of an ask, wouldn't it? But he did it. He also made the first poker tournament that had corporate sponsors, which was very, very relevant and valuable. Now lots of poker sites lots of tournaments have corporate sponsors. So anyway, that's that. Why is he dead? He's young. I don't think he's young. I don't know when he was born. Somebody Google how old Mike Sexton was. He was pretty old. There are a lot of people who are way older than you think they are. Time flies. I was watching Penn and Teller Fool Us with my wife the other day. It's a cool show if you like magic. And Teller did this trick that fooled Penn. It was very cute, very fun, very loving. And my wife's like, it's going to be so sad when he's gone. I'm like, what do you mean when he's gone? He's like, he's really old. He's 70-something. 70-something already. A lot of people are 70-something already. Goodness gracious. Time flies. One thing I've learned through all these books is you only have one life to live, and you better make good use of it. If you squander your life doing nonsense, you are going to be quite sad at the end of the day. And you never know when the end of the day is going to come, right? So, I challenge all of you in this new year, I know we're 18 days into it already, I challenge all of you in this new year to make use of your time, enjoy your life, add value, help others, and make the world a better place. That's me it for today. How would I rank? Insert any book from 15 years ago. Probably generally low. Turns out, I mean, this is going to sound a little bit aggressive, but a lot of poker books written 15 years ago were not written from a fundamentally sound point of view. They were written from the here's what works today point of view. And here's what works 15 years ago is basically irrelevant today because the game has changed a lot. Make good use of your time. I sometimes get questions, something to the effect of, should I read this book from 15 years ago? And the answer is no, unless we have infinite time. But we don't have infinite time, so the answer is essentially no. I want to make sure that you all make good use of your time as well. Isn't poker a waste of time? Well, when you think about it, everything's a waste of time to some extent. But there's definitely no problem with enjoying your life, right? And if poker brings you enjoyment, feel free to do it. Feel free to do it. What about the book Die With Zero? I think the book Die With Zero is good. I actually lent it out to someone, so it's not on my bookshelf, but it will be whenever I get it back. I think Die with Zero is a good book by Bill Perkins. Make sure you check that out as well. It basically talks about not squandering your life, not squandering your opportunities, right? Big takeaway from that book is if you are someone, well, anyone really, essentially you do not need as much money to retire as you think you do. And also, you want to make sure you're spending money when you are middle-aged as opposed to saving it for when you are older, assuming you're like in okay shape, right? And the reason for that is because when you're older, you don't really have the physical fitness to spend your money all that well to begin with. Like, for example, you can't go on a month-long hiking trip or a month-long, giant excursion when you're 88 years old because you're physically not in shape to do it, right? And you probably don't want to do it anyway. And most people do not need nearly as much money to retire as they think they do. Therefore, you should spend your money when you're younger. Also, things like, say you want to give money to your kids. Why wait until you're dead to give money to your kids? Why not give it to them when they need it, right? Like, say your plan is to... Let's just pretend. Let's say you worked your whole life, you saved your money, you have $2 million in the bank, and you're 70 years old, okay? First things first, how much money do you really need to live for the rest of your life? It's not $2 million. It's probably more like $600K or something. So you have $1.4 million just hanging out that you're going to be reinvesting, you're going to be making money on it. Fine. But let's say you have a child who's middle-aged, 25, 30, 40, whatever, and they're struggling in life. Bill used an example of someone in their book who, like, their parents would not give their kid money, who was like a struggling single parent, because they were worried about their retirement. But in reality, they didn't need the money that they had. And this is a time in their child's life where they really do need the money. And the parent was going to give the money to the kids anyway when they die, right? So it's like that money is going to them anyway. So why not give them the money now if they actually need it? And I mean, I'm sure you could perhaps come up with some convoluted reason to not give the kid the money, but if the money is going to the kid anyway, you might as well give the money to the kid when they need the money. He talks about like saving money when you're young. Quite often it does not make sense to save money when you're young. He talked about how as a young person, he was very proud of saving up like $2,000, whereas his friend went out and like got a loan and went on a 6-month trip backpacking around Europe. And you have to realize the $2,000 that he saved when he was young, working extra hours, foregoing good experiences, that $2,000 was basically irrelevant because when you get older in life, you're going to hopefully have better earning power. And that $2,000 later is going to be like almost nothing. Whereas $2,000 when you're young takes a lot of time to get that money together, right? He's like, yeah, you really do not need to be concerned with saving money when you are very, very young because the money you have, the money you're earning now is essentially irrelevant. So anyway, I like that book. I think it's probably a little bit too logical for a lot of people. And it's funny because like Bill Perkins' persona is a very weird one because when you see him playing poker on TV, he's like clearly fishing it up a lot of the time. Sorry, Bill, if that's offensive. It seems like you're fishing it up at the poker table. But then he puts out this like really good logical book with algorithms, math, straight up good logic. It's like, interesting. But I like that book a lot. I lent it out. Like I don't lend out a ton of books, but I knew someone who could use it, so I gave it to him. The power of compounding refutes that. All right, James, I'm going to give you a good example here. Let's say you make $10 an hour when you're young, okay? And let's say in 10 years you're going to make $100 an hour. You may say, that's not possible. I know I'm probably the exception, but I make a whole lot of money today, and I used to make no money. I used to work at McDonald's, right? If I had saved up all that money working at McDonald's, to be fair, I did this to some extent as well. I usually invested it in things I could turn around and resell. But, I don't know. Let's say I make $1,000 a day today or $500 a day today. That's like a week or two of working back when I was young. Do I really want to work a week or two to save up a little bit of money that if I triple it or quadruple it over the next 10 years, I can still make substantially more money today doing a pretty cushy job sitting in this room, right? And I mean, maybe I'm the exception, but a lot of people go from making $10 an hour to making like $40 an hour over the course of 10 or 15 years from when they are 18 to when they're like 28, right? And your earning power is just substantially more. And it also, do you really need infinite money whenever you are 75 years old? Like, you don't. You actually don't need that money. So you're working for something that you don't actually need. And people think they need these things, but they don't. Obviously, you need to be saving for retirement. I have loads of money in a retirement account that I cannot touch, or I will not touch, right? But that was like expendable income to some extent, where you're not missing it. Going back to good habits, right? Don't have to put money in your retirement account. Have it taken automatically. That was from that alchemy book as well, about how they talk about how if you force people to opt out instead of having them opt in, they're way more likely to do the investment, right? Anyway, I gotta go. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I know that there's infinite knowledge just from this little bookshelf right here. I know lots of people don't agree with everything, and that's okay. You don't have to. That's the great thing about ideas. You can share the ideas, and either you can accept them or reject them, but hearing other smart people talk about their areas of expertise is very valuable. Whenever you read a book, to some extent, you are getting that person's life's work consolidated and given to you in a package that is hopefully somewhat easy to understand. This is why private coaching is so valuable, right? And there's a lot of value in that. So anyway, hope you enjoyed today. If you want good, high-level consolidated knowledge given to you every single day for the next month, check out pokercoaching.com/cashgamechallenge. You can also get a discount to Poker Coaching Premium if you go to pokercoaching.com/cashgamechallenge right now. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you make good use of your time and good use of your life. You only have one. Don't squander it. If you squander it, you're the true fish. Have a great day.